In a year where baseball's megastars have been setting records and capturing all of the headlines, it's easy to forget that there have been plenty of intriguing and exciting seasons happening right now for guys who aren't named Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., or Shohei Ohtani. So without further ado, here are 10 of baseball's most underrated performers in 2024, and be sure to make a case for anyone I missed in the comments below because I can only put 10 in this video and there are surely more underrated guys. Let's get it going. We're gonna start with a banger of a player here, and that's Brenton Doyle. Last year, Doyle completely stole the show in the Rockies outfield, putting up some of the best defensive numbers in baseball, but was almost entirely absent as a hitter. He's a guy who looked at and said, damn, if he could only just be a league average bat, he'd be a crazy valuable player. Well, this year, Doyle hasn't just been average at the plate, he has been solidly above average while keeping up his Gold Glove defense. You can use the Coors Field argument to take away from Doyle's 22 home runs or 810 OPS, but even if you look at the park adjusted stat WRC+, he's been about 10% better than the league average hitter this year. Doyle is probably the most slept on 5-tool player in the league right now, and with 3.9 F4, he's been the 22nd most valuable player in baseball in 2024. Next up is a guy whose name we've all heard this year, but I'm not sure people grasp just how insane he's actually been. Jarren Duran hasn't just been above average this year, he hasn't just been all-star quality, he has been among the very best in the sport. With an 880 OPS, Duran is 9th in the American League, which is great on its own, but at age 27, Duran has also become one of the most defensively valuable center fielders out there. So, what do you get when you have an elite center field defender who leads baseball with 44 doubles and 13 triples, and also has 21 home runs, 32 stolen bases, and perfect durability in 2024? Well, according to Fangraph's calculation of WAR, you get the 5th most valuable player in all of Major League Baseball, one who should be talked about for way more than just an incident with a fan. And it wouldn't be an underrated list without Jose Ramirez. We all know he's underrated, we all acknowledge how much more he should be talked about, and then we all continue to ignore him as he stockpiles Hall of Fame quality numbers. J-Ram is knocking on the door to be the 7th player in the 40-40 club this season with 34 home runs and 34 stolen bases to just 4 times caught stealing. Along with being top 6 in both homers and steals, J-Ram has continued to play his brand of above average third base defense. He also leads all MLB third basemen and the Cleveland Guardians in wins above replacement with 5.1, and he continues to do it all extremely quietly. We're gonna stay in Ohio for this next one, this time zeroing in on the Cincinnati Reds and their newfound ace Hunter Greene. In his 2 previous seasons, Greene rode his elite fastball to great strikeout numbers, but struggled with both command and giving up hard contact. This year, with a hard hit rate down by over 10% and a barrel rate almost half of what it was last year, Greene has transformed himself into one of the very best starting pitchers in the game. He leads all of baseball right now with the lowest amount of hits allowed per 9 at 5.8. He has the 4th lowest ERA among starting pitchers at 2.83, the 5th lowest whip at 1.019, and is 9th in strikeouts per 9 with 10.2. One of the most sound pitchers in baseball this year, with his only notable weakness being an above average walk rate and a tendency to hit batters, Greene's ascendancy to an elite starting pitcher will be key for a Reds team trying to break into playoff contention in the coming seasons. The Oakland A's only have 6 less wins than the Reds, and a large part of what's helped them make a huge jump over their disastrous 2023 season has been the emergence of Brent Rooker. Rooker's game is very simple. He doesn't play defense and he doesn't run all that much, but what he does do is take his fair share of walks and absolutely smash the baseball almost as hard and as often as the premier names in the game. With a 949 OPS, Rooker is 8th in all of Major League Baseball, and despite being a primary DH, he is tied for 13th in F4. Rooker is an all-around beast on offense, and after somehow not making the American League All-Star team, he is putting the league on notice right now and has been a slightly poor man's version of Yordan Alvarez, although Rooker does strike out way more than Yordan does. Regardless though, he has been an all-around amazing DH. Someone who used to be a candidate for the DH spot but no longer needs to be is Phillies third baseman Alec Bohm. Bohm has turned into a flat-out great hitter this year. He has a strikeout rate which ranks in the bottom 7% of baseball, as well as an amazing ability to square up the baseball, and that's helped Bohm be one of the very best third basemen in MLB this year, one hitting for an OPS above 800 for the first time in a full season, as well as playing good defense at third for the first time in his whole career. Seriously, after putting up a combined negative 14 outs above average in the 2 previous seasons, Bohm currently sits at plus 5 outs above average, and this newfound combo of both hitting and defense has helped Bohm become the 24th most valuable MLB player this year with 3.8 F4 and a full month to go. His teammate over in the Phillies pitching staff, Christopher Sanchez, has also been quietly one of the league's most sound players at his position on one of the league's best teams. While a 3.49 ERA is certainly good but nowhere near elite, the lefty Sanchez has been spectacular at drawing ground balls and getting hitters to chase while limiting his walks. With the second lowest home run rate in baseball among qualified starters and the 15th lowest walk rate, a stat that does convey just how good Sanchez has been is fielding independent pitching. In 26 starts this year, Sanchez's FIP is 2.94, lower than only 2 qualified starters, those being each league's respective Cy Young frontrunners. In a rotation where Sanchez is probably the 4th most well-known starter, he could very well be up there with Zach Wheeler in the top 2 spots of this rotation if some more luck and better defense behind him comes his way in 2025. Out in Kansas City, a 26-year-old starter is producing very similarly to Christopher Sanchez, but his production comes in a very different shape. What does that mean? Well, Cole Ragans has a 3.46 ERA and a sublime 3.00 fielding independent pitching, both numbers similar to Sanchez's, but instead of ground balls, Ragans has found his success with the strikeout. He currently leads the American League in Ks per 9 with 11 flat and is tied for 3rd in strikeouts overall with Chris Sale at 197. While Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez are fueling the team on offense, and rotation mates Seth Lugo and Brady Singer have lower ERAs, Cole Ragans has fueled the pitching staff incredibly well while hardly making a peep. And while we are on the topic of guys who get strikeouts, Logan Gilbert is the next guy on this list. Gilbert has been rock solid for the past 3 seasons, and his game has been striking out an above average amount of guys, giving up pretty hard contact and heavily limiting the walk. This year the strikeouts are up, the contact has been a little bit weaker, and the walks are as low as ever, and so naturally Gilbert has transformed into one of the best starters in all of baseball. In 177.2 innings, he's racked up 181 Ks, which is 7th in baseball, a 3.19 ERA, which is 13th, and a 3.12 fielding independent pitching, which is all the way up at 6th. Despite sharing a rotation with Luis Castillo, it's been Gilbert who has led the way for the Mariners alongside possibly the best command pitcher in the league, and no, it is not who jumps to mind immediately in George Kirby, it's actually a 24-year-old starting pitcher in his 2nd year named Brian Wu. Now Wu, with 17 starts to his name, is not a qualified starting pitcher this year because time spent in the minors and time missed from injury, but if he was, he would be 3rd in baseball in ERA at 2.30, he would be 18th in fielding independent pitching, and he'd have the single lowest number of walks per 9 in all of baseball. That's right, with a 2.5% walk rate, there is no one in the league walking less hitters than Wu. He's also very good at avoiding the barrel of the bat and limiting hard contact, so despite being in the bottom 25% of the league for strikeout rate, Wu has managed to dominate the opposition and round out a beastly Seattle rotation. If only that team could hit. So guys, there you go. Unless I counted wrong, that was 10 of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball, but there are most definitely more. I have a couple in mind already, so you guys go ahead and point some out in the comments below to be in a future video, and I will surely be willing to include them. Please hit like on this one and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.